Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, and my first of hopefully many cards using the Simon Says Stamp September card kit that I just posted an unboxing video of yesterday. As always, I will link to everything I can, though that it's available separately, because if people are watching this video down the road, these kits always sell out. And this one I am sure is going to sell out very quickly. So I started with one of these little balloon tags and I lined it up first in my MISTI because I wanted to stamp one of these curved sentiments over the die cut or the opening of the balloon. So I lined it up first, and then as I was looking at it, I was like, I wonder if I can curve that just a little bit more to go around the balloon a little bit better. And this is where the second tag came in really handy, so I didn't have to move things around too much. So I closed the lid of the MISTI and then just taped that second tag into place. And then this way I can manipulate the sentiment a little bit. You can do this with almost any straight stamp, even like manipulate it a bit and get it curved. These ones it was a lot easier because this was meant to be curved, so I just had to curve it a little bit more. So I just peeled it up from the lid a little bit and fiddled with it till I got it the way I thought it would look best, so it just wasn't as less curved. I don't know, you guys know I'm not good with technical terms, whatever. I got it to curve around the balloon opening. So did some fiddling just to make sure it was all lined up, and then I can ink up the stamp with Simon Says Intense Black ink. Stamp that multiple times to make sure it was nice and black and crisp right over that balloon. And then while I was doing that and had my MISTI out, I was like, ooh, I should stamp the little heart border stamp from this set as well. So this stamp's really long because it'll go across at the bottom of an A2 size card, like the long way, so like 5.5 inches. So I turned the tag sideways in my little mini MISTI here and then lined up that stamp again. I'd closed the tag this time and held it in place with my magnet, and then just closed the lid of that MISTI so that I can stamp these again with just the same intense black ink, just to kind of keep things simple. So stamped that a couple times so that it was nice and crisp, and of course I was a little bit off camera when I did that, but you'll see it in a second here. So once I had that stamped, I had die cut some of the pattern paper that comes in the kit, this Doodlebug pattern paper that I'm obsessed with. I bought this like months ago and I've been hoarding it, so I'm glad it came in the kit so I can actually use it. So I die cut some of the pattern paper and some of the cardstock with Simon Says basic rectangle dies. And then I trimmed down the one paper that's got these little different strips of, you know, sayings and patterns and everything. So I just got this little rainbow stripe, little diagonal stripe, and I trimmed that off. And then I'm just going to adhere that along the bottom of the tag. And on the inside of the tag, I adhered the little like confetti paper just to give it a little extra something. So I'm going to trim that down. And then there's this fun little balloon plastic shaker piece that will fit perfectly inside this tag, which I just think is so much fun. So I went through my sequin stash. I have many sequin mixes that would work with this. So I just pulled them all out, and I'll try to link to them all hopefully in the description box below. If you don't have them, I highly recommend them. They're fun to hoard, but they're also really fun to use. So I've got several from Little Things by Lucy's Cards, as well as that gorgeous rainbow iridescent mix by Studio Katya. I had a really hard time choosing what to use, so in the end I actually used two mixes. I used the fairy lights from Little Things from Lucy's Cards. That's what I used first. And they're a little bit paler, and I was like, I really like the bright colors of the Studio Katya, so I ended up pulling out just a few of the fairy lights and putting them back in my little container. And again, I have people asking about the containers all the time. I did a sequin storage video on my channel forever, like a year ago, something like that, and explained all about that. So some of them are stored in the containers properly, others like the Studio Katya ones I haven't got around to yet. But yeah, added some of those to it just to bring out a little bit more of the bright colors. And then to make this tag become the shaker tag, I'm applying adhesive all along the inside area here. I'm just using my ATG adhesive for this, and I made sure to go all the way around the little window and the sides and the bottom, like pretty much coating the whole thing in adhesive just to make sure it just stays. And then this does have its own adhesive, the little shaker piece itself, so I just got to peel off that backing paper. It's super sticky, FYI. So peeled off that backing paper and then carefully just kind of inserted it and then folded it closed just like so, pressing it all down, and then I've got this adorable shaker tag. Love it. I'm gonna have to get a whole bunch more of these. I have a bunch of the MFT ones as well that I keep, you know, meaning to use and haven't got around to yet. Anyway, they're fun. Shaped shakers are fun. These little types of pouches and things just make life so much easier, so you're not fiddling around near as much. So after I'd created my fun little shaker tag, I grabbed some Doodlebug black twine from my stash and just attached that to the top of the tag so it's not just, you know, boring on the top there. So tied a little bow on there and then decided to just tuck the tag or the tail ends from the top part on the back and just tape them out of the way. I decided I didn't want to leave them out like I originally was going to. So just tape that down so that all holds that fun little bow in place. And then I decided I needed to kind of bring in more of that black and white because I really liked how it looked with like the stamped hearts and then the black and white twine. So I pulled out my Simon Says Diagonal Stripes background stamp, and I did this forever ago. I had shown, I think it was in a video or something. I had stamped this many times using like my Misty and some black ink on white cardstock, and then just saved all those extra pieces in the packaging for that stamp, so I didn't have to do it this time. But I trimmed a piece down, so I've just got a little bit of a border around this balloon pattern paper. And then I'm going to adhere those together, so just enough black and white to kind of tie in the rest of the little bit of black and white going on in the card. And then I'm going to adhere that tag, and look at me adhering it a little bit on an angle and not perfectly straight. I see my OCD starts acting overtime. I love seeing people's layouts with pattern papers and different elements on their cards, and they're able to just go a little more free flowing with things. I use my grid mat and everything's got to line up so straight and ridiculous. It's kind of nuts. But anyway, I adhered the tag on an angle and then popped up that pattern paper and straight paper piece with some more foam tape, and then added some little enamel accents from the kit. And then my card base is the Simon Says 120 pound white cardstock. So I cut this sheet in half, so it's 4 1/4 by 11. And I'm going to score it at 5 1/2 with my Teflon bone folder, get that creased down really well. And I'm going to line this up in my Mini Misty again so that I can stamp one more of the sentiments from the best ever set. So I lined that up again with the Misty. I was going to use, some little pattern paper under it. So just kind of getting everything lined up. And then I'm going to ink that up with the same intense black ink. And then while I was doing that, I was like, ooh, I should stamp that little heart border again on the inside just to tie it all together. So got my sentiment stamped, and then again, I'm going to have to turn the inside of my card so I can line up that stamp because it's too long to fit the other way in the Mini Misty. So, and I've had a lot of people ask, like, why not just use like the larger Misty, like the original size one? I end up with like barely any space. That's why I love and use the Mini Misty 99% of the time, because that's all the space I have left on my desk. Using the bigger one if I don't need to, I try not to because I just don't have the space by the time I'm like, in the middle of creating something. I have so much stuff, it's just ridiculous. So I stamped that border along the bottom of the card, and then I trimmed down a little bit of the remaining balloon pattern paper. I'm just going to use my scissors, cut a little notch in the end, and meet up each corner with that notch. So I've got a little flag end, and I'm going to do the same thing with that tiny little strip I'd used on the tag. I couldn't bear to get rid of it because it's just so pretty and rainbow and fabulous. So same thing, I just trimmed it down, added a little notch on the end to create a little flag end, and then this way I can adhere this to the inside of the card. So just squeezing on a little bit of that same Nouveau adhesive, and then using my grid mat just to help kind of eyeball and get things all straight. And then adding another little bit of adhesive. And for the card front itself, I'm using the same Nouveau adhesive. I have 2 bottles of this. I have one bottle with the fine detailer that I was just using, and then one bottle I've just left as is because it's easier to squeeze out, a proper amount to adhere larger pieces like this. So I just interchanges depending on what I'm adhering. So applied that same Nouveau adhesive because that gives me a few seconds to wiggle that card front around to make sure it's completely lined up properly on the card base. And that finished off my card. So like I mentioned earlier, I will have links below the video to my blog post, links to all the supplies used. Check that out in the description box below, as well as on my blog if you are interested. Thank you all so much for watching and subscribing, thumbs upping, and commenting on my videos. I appreciate you guys so much, and I will see you all very soon in the next one. Bye!